So have you ever come off of a call with a potential client or recorded a video just like this and you've just said to yourself, "Oh, Tama, have you given away too much for free? What should be free content? What should be paid content? I don't know." And then you've done the other way around and you've actually charged for a product or a service, and then you've said, "Oh, Tama, that may have been and could well have been a free content piece to build my authority or a great free lead magnet. What should I do? I don't know which camera lens to look at. But hey, we're gonna sort this out together during this video, so stick around. But before you do that, please hit that like button and that subscribe thingy and the notification bell, because you know what? When you hit the notification bell, you will get notified of this beautiful channel with its beautiful new videos that give you a whole lot of value about how you should grow your business without sacrificing your lifestyle or sanity. So stick around and let's get on with the video. Hit it. So let me tell you a true story that happened to me a couple of years ago. I had bought a plot of land and I was planning to build a house, and I was attending a workshop on the planning aspects of things, how to go about designing and creating your designs and getting it approved and getting it built and so on and so forth. And there was this lady, an expert in planning. She was standing up on stage and she was talking about how to go about the process and the obstacles that you have to navigate and so on and so forth. And she was flashing her slides, flashing them as fast as possible, so intentionally you could not actually read what was on there. And I said, okay, maybe this lady actually knows what she's talking about, but let me go and speak to her and see what information she can provide me so that I can actually make an informed decision to hire her as a consultant, because I thought, I don't want to do this by myself. I'm going to hire someone to walk me through the process, and if they've done it before and they've experienced it before, they'll be able to navigate through all the obstacles in a good way. However, I need to know that she is actually as good as she says she is. So I went up to her at the end of the talk and I said, hey, great talk, loved it, didn't really see everything on the slides, and I was thinking, are you able to provide me a copy of the slides so that I can look through them and get back in touch with you and we can have a conversation about the plot of land and what I want to build? And she turned around and she went, oh, no, absolutely not. Never. This is my livelihood. I'll guard it with my life. Get away from me. Here's a business card. If you want to call me and pay me money, then and only then will I be able to walk you through it, because you as a mere mortal will not understand anything. Okay, she didn't say the last bit, but she said all of the stuff before it, including my livelihood and guard it with my life and not in a million years. All of that stuff. She said it. And then I thought to myself, okay, I'm never hiring you. Thank you very much. But you know, if you're not going to actually have a decent relationship and provide me with enough information so that I can make an informed decision, then I'm not interested. And that was the end of that. And I actually went and never hired her, and actually have never been in touch with her since. So what am I actually saying here? The point of what I just walked through was that I needed to know enough information about this person who said that they were an expert and claimed that they were an expert, so that I can pay them money to be able to provide me with the service. I am not for a second saying that you should give away valuable expertise for free when someone comes up and asks you to provide a customized or a personalized service for them. No way.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
You should know your value, you should know your worth, and you should know how much to charge for it. And I talk about it in this video up here, so make sure you see that one if you haven't. But the point is that you need to understand your worth, and you are in a business to make money. So if you're in a business to make money, you're not a charity, you need to make a livelihood, other people do, and it's fine and it's okay to do that. But on the other hand, yes, you should be charging for what you're worth. You should never, ever do something that is valuable to somebody that will have an ROI for them. You should never do it for free for yourself if they ask you to do it directly.
Show me the money.
However, part of your content marketing strategy, this is a completely different ballgame, and this is something that will help you build your authority, raise awareness, make you cut through the noise so that you can actually show who you are, what your expertise is, what your unique selling proposition is, And people buy into other people's voices and expertise and whether or not they want to work with this person and what kind of information they're going to provide. And when you provide to people as much information as possible so that they can make an informed decision, that then allows them, when it comes the time that they need to actually realize something, they should and they probably will go to some form of consultant or coach or mentor or expert or service provider or product delivery service, whatever it is that they're searching for, they will go for that so that expertise is given to them so that they can have a structure, they can be able to actually navigate through something with clarity and confidence and be able to have that convenience. And I think that that's really important. It's the convenience aspect of it being given to somebody in a step-by-step process is what people will actually pay for. They pay for also a personalized service, so something that actually is relevant to them. So when they go and buy, there's a whole bunch of information out there and none of it is really personalized because that information is for a sort of generic or a target segment or a target market. However, each person and each business and each individual has a completely different situation and has a completely different mindset in terms of what they want to achieve, and their journey and their starting point is completely different. So when they go and buy a service or they buy a product that's related to what they want to achieve, it is usually at the stage they're at, whether it's an early stage business that they want to grow or whether it's something else, it doesn't really matter. But what they're doing is they're buying that convenience and they're buying that structure. I mean, hey, look, sometimes you're going to want to sort of have dinner at night and you decide that you're going to have a pizza. I'm sure that if you were to search up the recipes and get the ingredients and do all of these things, that information is out there. All of it is out there and you will be able to make a fantastic pizza. However, it is much more convenient for you to order in. So people want to have shortcuts. They don't want to be able to go through all of the years of experience that you've gone through. So if you have had 20 years of experience of building businesses, succeeding and failing and so on and so forth, and then you go and you walk through somebody who's just starting out, there is going to be a whole bunch of lessons, life lessons that that person has learned where they say, hang on, I've done this, it didn't work, and it's going to save you 3 years of misery doing that. And that's where the paid value really comes in. There are some schools of thought that say you should only give the why and the what. So, you know, why is this problem so important to solve? So that I make sure that you understand that you have this problem and you need to solve it. And what is it that you need to do? And by giving you a whole bunch of steps, you are going to get scared. You thought there were 2 and now you realize that there are 10. I was having a conversation with someone about a week ago, actually, and he was saying sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And only when you actually know it, you realize that you found out that there was a whole bunch of things that you don't know. So there is a school of thought that goes through and says, okay, you should only say why you need this solution and why the problem exists and what the steps are to take, and don't give the how. And that's what people will pay for. People will then go to a course or consulting or whatever it is, and they will show them how to do it step by step. Great. And that school of thought is completely valid. And there are a lot of things that when I have been thinking strategically about this YouTube channel, there are a lot of things that I have said, well, actually, the what and the why really should come here. But the how, some of these things, there's just too much detail. It gets into a lot of intricate details that it depends on the type of service and it depends on the type of business, and it really will not make for relevant viewing for everyone who's actually watching. So that's that school of thought. My school of thought, on the other hand, is I don't think that the how should actually be something that's also withheld. I actually believe that free content is free content. If you search for it, like I was talking about in terms of the pizza and the, the ingredients, people will go and you will find that information everywhere. However, people don't want to just find the information and structure it themselves and go through years and years of pain and misery and experience and failure and trying it again and then doing it and then discovering it and finding out that 20 years down the line, they've cracked it. People want to have that convenience. They want to have that expertise and they want to have that structure. So by all means, I'm of the school of thought, give that information. Make sure that you say, actually, I'm going to cut through the noise. I'm going to show what I know. I'm going to show what I have, and actually make sure that people understand that you are really an expert in this field and in this topic. And actually, if you think about it in movies, what happens in movies? You have a movie that's of a certain length. And then what they will do is they will pick the best bits of the movie, and they will put it in a trailer to show you for free.
Hello. Hi.
Wow, they are showing me the best bits of the movie, so I'm going to still go and pay and go and watch the movie. And that's what your free content should be like. It should be, in a way, you showing off your best bits. There's no way that you can show off everything because the amount of detail and depth and customization and personalization, there's no way that you're going to be able to do all of that for free because you're not going to sit there and sort of go through every single permutation of every single individual that you might actually deal with when they come across your free content. But what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, actually, these are my best things. These are the highlights of what I've got. I'm going to give you the highlights and I'm going to show and establish my authority in the field, and I'm going to show who I am as a person. But in addition to that, we've got something which is called reciprocity. And this was actually in the book Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's a classic book. If you haven't read it, I'm going to link it down below. It's a must read. And it talks about the psychology of persuasion. And in that psychology of persuasion, what it talks about is that when you provide something for free to somebody, they are kind of in their subconscious almost obliged to reciprocate and give you back that generosity that you've given them. So when you say, here is something that's incredibly valuable to you, and they actually take it and they say, hey, this is incredibly valuable to me, they will subconsciously feel obliged at one point that they owe you one, or owe you two, or owe you three. So when the time comes that you're actually going to start selling a product or a service to them, they will want to buy it just to say thank you, but also to find out a little bit more about that expertise and the personalized and the step-by-step guide as we were talking about. So there are a few other things that you should be thinking about in terms of not just let me hide this. When that lady did not sort of give me her generosity in terms of showing me some of the slides or sending me at least a sample of them and saying, hey, look, I can send you the first half and let me know what you think. There was absolutely no free generosity from her side. It was like a complete closed thing, and I did not feel that I was obliged to reciprocate. However, had she actually started providing me with information and knowledge, and I am someone who's serious and actually going to want to buy, I would have ended up buying her services for consulting and so on and so forth so that she can guide me through the process. There will be people that will never buy. And those people, don't worry, they are not your clients. They are not your potential leads, and they are not your potential people that will buy. They might buy something else, but that's where their priority sort of kicks in, that for me is a priority. So if they are not going to buy because you've provided some free information to them, they are not your clients, and they should not be the ones that you should be worrying about. You should be worrying about the ones that are really going to come and actually value you for who you are so that you will provide that service to them. But also remember that knowing isn't the same as doing. Everyone knows that, you need to get out of bed early in the morning. It's good for you. You need to eat healthy recipes. You need to exercise daily. You need to do all of these things, and you need to be this and that and the other. And there's a whole bunch of things of life lessons that everyone knows you should be doing so that you can have a healthy life, but not everyone does it. So we need to understand that not everyone is going to go through all of the information that you have and carry it out in that way. And that's why sometimes sifting through the people that are never going to pay is actually a good thing, because you're saying, here's that information. They're saying, well, I wasn't going to do anything with it anyway. But when it's time for somebody to do something about it, they are going to start looking for expertise and being able to pay for it. Another thing that we need to keep in mind is by providing free content regularly, you are staying fresh in people's minds. And that's important. And if you sit there and say, I'm only going to do this and this and this and nothing else, you will run out of ideas on what to speak about. Or you will say the same thing and you'll repeat it over and over and over and over again. You want to be there consistently, raising awareness of your brand, of your expertise, of your knowledge, of your authority. So being able to sort of repeatedly and consistently push out that free content is going to be really important. So let's summarize what I believe, in my humble opinion, should be free content and what should be paid content. And I think that the free content should be a lot of the whys and the whats, so that you establish the need for the problem and the solution. You establish what the steps are, so that if people aren't aware of what they need to know about, then they are at least aware of what they need to know about. And some of the hows, which show off your best bits and highlights. And keep producing that information so that you can stay fresh in people's mind. You keep being generous in your information, in your help. Don't sit there and help everyone. Like, don't jump on a lot of calls and say, let me help you out for free. That's not what I mean. That's when it turns into paid content. When it turns into paid content is when you start giving a lot of in-depth step-by-step guides from number 1 to number 55, or from A to Z, and you're actually walking through a journey of, a transformation from before to after, and you're saying, I can help you through that transformation. That in-depth step-by-step journey is something that you can charge for. Your time, when people take your time, not marketing. For example, if you're doing discovery calls, and that's a two-way process where you're trying to establish as much as they are trying to establish whether or not you would be a good fit to work for each other, that could be free. But anything beyond that should be paid. Any advice that people are asking that is sort of personalized or customized, and it is something that's in-depth and detailed beyond the social media platforms like, the questions and the comments on YouTube, then if people start asking you, that should be paid content. So I hope that explains the difference between the two, and I'll see you next time.